We are jumping into week 3 of our series, Faith on Full, where we've been talking about how do we keep our faith tanks full? How do we avoid living and responding from a place of exhaustion? Our lives weren't made to live on empty. And we numb out and we disengage from those in our lives when we find ourselves on empty. Have you ever found yourself just kind of growing apathetic or less patient or more impulsive when you realize you're empty? I mean, most of our greatest regrets come from seasons of emptiness. We all have those seasons. We all have those moments where we just feel empty. But here's some really good news. Jesus has a very different vision for our lives, and he doesn't want us to live on empty. And I love it how Jesus said it. He said it this way in John 10:10. He said, I have come that they, that you, that me, that we may have life and have it to the full. Jesus says his vision for our life is to have life to the full. Not on empty, not half filled, but a full tank life. Jesus came to give us a full life. Despite whatever we face, all the struggles, the challenges, the temptations, despite all that we face, he came to give us faith on full. Man, we all know people who their faith just seems to inspire us. You know, there's people who, man, they're facing incredibly challenging moments who still somehow or another in the middle of their circumstances still respond with grace, still show patience, still manage to be loving and kind, even when others around them are not. Man, I watch them, and I know you watch them, and we just ask, how? How do they do that? I mean, it's like the harder that life gets, the more impressive their faith becomes. How do those people keep their tanks on full? How do they keep their faith from not running out? And that's what we're trying to uncover in this series. That's what we've been talking about over the last couple of weeks. And I really do believe that if you sat down with those people, you would hear story after story after story around 5 habits that they have in their lives. Habits that they've embedded that help them when life gets crazy. Habits that help keep their tank full. But those habits have been habits that followers of Jesus have been doing since Jesus walked the earth. And 2 weeks ago, we looked at the first habit. The first habit we looked at was people who keep their faith on full make it a habit to assemble with the church, not just attend the church. People who keep their faith on full make it a habit to assemble with the church and not just attend the church. Something happens. Something happens when we make it a priority to gather, to plug in, to assemble into what is happening here. And Jesus reminds us that when we assemble, when we plug in, when we fit in, he's in the midst of that. There's just something special about being here each week, tuning in each week, on hitting the pause button and being a part of what God's doing. Then last week we talked about the second habit. And the second habit that we looked at was people who keep their faith on full prioritize Christ-centered relationships. They prioritize Christ-centered relationships. And we learned last week about the ABCs of a Christ-centered relationship. The ABCs are accountability, belonging, and care. Accountability, belonging, and care. And we realized that Christ-centered relationships, man, they're willing to ask the hard questions, to poke around a little bit in each other's lives because they love each other enough to ask the real questions. And then there's a sense of belonging that you're not constantly trying to audition or just one step from being canceled, that it's okay to be real enough because you know you really matter. And then from that place, true care can happen. And this week we're going to introduce the third habit. And if I'm honest, this one might hit hard. And I'm saying that because it's hit me hard. And I just want to throw out a reminder right at the beginning that this habit comes straight from the Bible. And see, this habit is people who keep their faith on full do something with their faith. People who keep their faith on full do something with their faith. They do something. They just don't believe something. They do something, not just feel something. They do something, not just aspire to something. Their faith has muscles because they've worked it out. There's this old story that I grew up hearing about this tightrope walker who he stretches the tightrope across a canyon and he gets a wheelbarrow and he walks the wheelbarrow across the tightrope, and the other side of the canyon, there's people all on the edge and they're cheering and they're clapping and they're applauding, and he gets to the other side and he looks at the crowd and he goes, "Who believes I can walk back?" And they all cheer and they clap and they start wanting him to walk back and see him do it again. And then he looks at him and he says, "Who believes enough to get in?" See, it's easy to say we have faith, to say that we're trusting Jesus, to say we want to be a people who are marked by our faith. But we can say all of that and still stand safely on the side of the canyon, never risking, never stepping out in faith. Guys, we can't say we have faith if everything is just buttoned up nice in our life. If we've never put ourselves out there, if we've never stepped into a situation that we know that if Jesus doesn't show up, we're hosed. Because at the end of the day, people who keep their faith on full do something with their faith. Now, real quick, for all of our Enneagram 3s out there, for all of our overachievers, for all of our folks who want a checklist of what they're supposed to do to make God like them and to be good enough and to earn God's love, real quick, we've got something really important to touch base on, and we cannot forget as we talk about this, we cannot forget this one verse in Ephesians 2. It says, God saved you by his grace when you believed, and you can't take credit for this. It is a gift from God. Salvation is not a reward for the good things we've done, so none of us can boast. You have been saved by grace. So, to be beyond clear, this habit is not a habit to earn you something from God. This habit is not to make God love you or like you. It is only by the work that Jesus has already done for you on the cross, his love that he has already lavished out for you, his outrageous love of another kind, that you can finally stop trying to be good enough, to trying to earn it, and you can simply accept it. That is what makes us right with God. That's what makes us a part of God's family. So if you've never done that, if you've never just accepted the love that God wants to give you, man, that's the most important thing you could ever do. And everything changes when Jesus is a part of our lives. But for those of us who are trusting Jesus, who have accepted, and who have accepted that we're saved by grace alone, and we've made the exchange of our brokenness for Jesus' redemption and grace, this habit is for you. Think of it like this. Man, the only way that you and I can make God's team is for him to accept us. We're never good enough to make the team, to earn a spot on his team. He simply gives us an invitation, and then we get to choose to accept his invitation to be put on his team. But you aren't put on his team to just sit on the bench, to clap, to cheer, to question. Man, he put you on the team to be in the game, to do something. Because remember, people who keep their faith on full, they're doing something with their faith. They're doing something with it. And here is where all of this comes from. And it's actually from one of the craziest sources in the Bible. So I want to invite you guys to turn to James chapter 1. James chapter 1, that's on page 930 in the Bibles in our seats. You can jump there on your phone. And as you're turning there, I want to ask you to hold it open. But before we read it, I want us to jump back in the story a little bit. And I want us to look, before we jump into James, I want us to look a little bit of what was leading up to this moment. So random question. Did you know that Jesus was not an only child? Like that he had siblings? I don't know why, but when I learned that, I was like shocked the first time I ever learned that he had brothers and sisters. Now, Mary and Joseph, Jesus' parents, they had other kids after Jesus, and obviously all of these were Jesus' half-siblings since Joseph wasn't Jesus' bio dad, but all of these siblings still grew up with Jesus, which had to be both awesome and awful. I mean, it had to be awesome because Jesus never sinned, so like that's nice to have around the house, you know? Like, brother's perfect, that's pretty nice. But it also had to be awful because imagine being Mary. Imagine having that as your older sibling and having your mom be like, you'll never be as good as your older brother. No, duh. Like, Jesus never backtalked. Nope, but I sure am. Jesus never got sent to the principal's office. Like, needless to say, by the time Jesus has grown up and he goes public as like the Son of God, the promised Messiah, his siblings aren't big fans. They're not really supportive. And so we read about this very random encounter that Jesus has with his siblings in the book of John. Jesus' brothers said to him, leave here and go to Judea where all your followers can see your miracles. You can't become famous if you hide like this. Now, a little bit of backstory of what's going on. Jesus' teaching had been ruffling some feathers with the local political and religious leaders, and they wanted to silence him, like silence Jesus for good. So they were actively looking for ways to kill Jesus because Jesus was threatening their power and threatening their prominence. But Jesus knew what mattered most. And he knew that he could win those arguments with these bullies, but if he did that, he would miss what mattered most. So he knew the timing wasn't right to have a showdown with these clowns. So instead of going to this really big festival that everybody was going to and causing a fight, he just decided to chill at home for the weekend, to skip the festival, to skip the fight. But his brothers who were at home were jerks. And they're picking on him, and they're poking at him, and they're pushing him, and they're making fun of him. And they go on after saying this, and they say, if you can do such wonderful things, show yourself to the world. And then here's the kicker. For even his brothers didn't believe him. For even his brothers didn't believe him. They weren't buying what he was selling. They weren't a part of the Jesus fan club. They weren't impressed with his miracles, his teachings, his standing up to the political and religious bullies. They were stuck on making fun of him and putting down their older brother, the chosen one, the ones that the shepherds and the wise men came and made a fuss over because no shepherds came to their birthdays and no wise men traveled to see them. So can you feel it? Can you get a picture of what's going on here? Jesus' brothers weren't kind. They weren't his bros. Now, let's jump back to James chapter 1, page 930. Let's start at the beginning. We read in James chapter 1 and verse 1. This letter is from James, a slave of God and of the Lord Jesus Christ. I am writing to the 12 tribes, Jewish believers scattered abroad. Greetings. Dear brothers and sisters, when troubles come your way, consider it an opportunity for great joy. For you know, when your faith is tested, your endurance has a chance to grow. So let it grow. For when your endurance is fully developed, you will be perfect and complete, needing nothing. Now, don't close your Bibles, keep them open. A little bit of backstory here, a couple of things to point out. James is the pastor to the church in Jerusalem. He's the pastor to the first church ever in Jerusalem. He's pastoring right after Jesus just ascended back to heaven. But Jerusalem at this moment isn't exactly safe for Christians to be in. Their local leaders, they had just led a mob to capture Jesus, to viciously have Jesus murdered by crucifixion. And those guys who killed Jesus are still in charge. But now they're going around and they're just stoning followers of Jesus in the streets. Like if you're a follower of Jesus, they throw rocks on you till they kill you. And gets so bad for this early church that James is pastoring that they have to flee for their lives. So they have to leave their homes and their businesses, and they have to leave their families' vineyards and gardens that they've worked generation after generation after generation on, and they have to run for their life out. And James is their pastor through all of this. And I love some of the things that James is writing to his scattered, beaten, hurting, depleted, on empty church. See, he says this at one point. He says, when troubles come, consider it an opportunity for great joy. What? When you're beaten, when you're thrown, when you're thrown in the jail, when you're threatened, when they break into your homes, man, that's an opportunity for great joy. Why? How could he say all of this? Remember, he's still living in Jerusalem. James is still in the worst of it. How could he say this? Because he knew. He knows that when our faith is tested, when the tank starts to drain, when the pressures come, that's when our faith has a chance to grow. Because endurance has a chance to grow, and when it grows, it just keeps growing till it's complete. Till it's perfect. Somehow or another, our tank stays full even when it's getting beaten down. So faith to James matters a whole lot. A full tank faith matters a whole lot. They weren't in a place for weak faith or half faith or watered down faith. It was game on for them or it was over for them. So when James talks about faith, man, he's got something to say. But the most profound part of what we've read, we actually haven't even talked about yet. The most profound part of what we've read is actually in the opening lines when it says, this letter is from James, a slave of God and of the Lord Jesus Christ. I love this. I love this. A slave of God. James is saying, I am someone fully invested into the mission God is on to redeem and to save the world. And this might be one of the biggest ands in the entire book, and I love it. This and is huge. He says, and not only am I a slave of God, but and of the Lord Jesus Christ. The Lord Jesus Christ. Man, this word is so big. I actually looked up this word, Lord, and in Greek, it is this word. It is this word, which means Lord, Master, the one with absolute ownership and rights. Lord, Master, the one with absolute ownerships and right. James is saying that his Lord, his Master, his absolute owner who has the rights to his life is Jesus Christ. So why am I making such a big deal of this? Why am I making such a big deal about one of the first pastors who's in a persecuted city being radically sold out for Jesus? First of all, what would it take for you to say that in his situation? I mean, some of us are struggling to say that today without any persecution and without the threat of being stoned on our way home from work. And we also have 2,000 years of history backing up that Jesus changes lives. And we have incredible supports and comforts on how we can fully follow him. But secondly, what would you have had to experience to say not only that, but that about Jesus, who's also your half brother? James was the half brother of Jesus. James, the one who we just read about who did not believe, now so believes that he is not only calling his half brother Jesus his Lord, but he's risking his life to help others fully experience Jesus. So what did James see? What happened that changed him? See, James watched Jesus go from hiding at home, or so he accused him of, that we read about earlier, to walking the roads, to healing the lame, to speaking truth to the broken, to throwing off oppression, to freeing captives, to dying on a cross for the sins of the world. And then here's the kicker, raising from the dead to back it all up. James saw Jesus do something. James saw Jesus do something, and it changed James' life. So just to recap, James, the half-brother of Jesus who really did not believe, now really believes because he saw Jesus do something. And now he is pastoring and writing that type of faith. That type of faith goes hand in hand with action. The faith that Jesus lives goes hand in hand with action. So James, from this place, writes one of the most difficult passages that I have ever read in the Bible. It's one of the most difficult passages for followers of Jesus to read. He does not mince words. He simply does not have time to be cute and to be polite with his words. He just says it. So I want you guys to turn in James chapter 2. We're going to be on page 931. It's the opposite side of the page that you were on earlier. James chapter 2. We're going to start in verse 14. We're going to read for just a bit here. So James chapter 2, verse 14. James, the half-brother of Jesus, writes, he said, "What good is it, brothers and sisters, if you say you have faith, but don't show it by your actions? Can that kind of faith save anyone? Suppose you see a brother or sister who has no food or clothing, and you say, 'Goodbye and have a great day, stay warm and eat well,' but then you don't give that person any food or clothing. What good does that do?" So you see, faith by itself isn't enough unless it produces good deeds. It is dead and useless. Now, some may argue, some people have faith, others have good deeds, but I say, how can you show me your faith if you don't have good deeds? I will show you my faith by my good deeds. You say you have faith, but you believe that you say that you have faith, for you believe that there is one God. Good for you. I love his little sarcasm right here. Even the demons believe that, and they tremble in fear. How foolish. Can't you see that faith without good deeds is useless? Don't you remember our ancestor Abraham, who was shown to be right with God by his actions when he offered his son Isaac on the altar? Time out. Really weird Old Testament story. If you've never read it, it's crazy. talk to someone about it. Don't make any assumptions about what you just read right there. It's weird. But anywho, he did this crazy thing. You see, his faith and his actions worked together, and his actions made his faith complete. And so it happened, just as the scriptures say, Abraham believed God, and God counted him as righteous because of his faith. He was even called a friend of God. So you see, you are shown to be right with God by what you do, not by faith alone. Rahab the prostitute, another really cool Old Testament story you should read sometime, is another example. She was shown to be right with God by her actions when she hid those messengers and sent them safely away by a different road. And I love this verse. Just as the body is dead without breath, so also faith is dead without good works. Faith is dead without good works. Faith is meaningless without action. Faith is a joke if it doesn't move you. So what we've been talking about all day, people who keep their faith on full do something with their faith. People who keep their faith on full are doing something with their faith. And James wanted his church to survive the chaos they were in. And guys, I want you to survive your life and the chaos you're in. And I want your faith to survive this life. I want you to be able to count it all joy. I want your faith to be able to weather all the storms because I want you to weather all the storms. So as lovingly as I can, I've got to ask, what are you doing with your faith? How are you using your faith? Because if you don't use it, you'll lose it. And that's not only true for your mad middle school band skills and our ability to read paper maps and to do basic math as a society, but it is also true for our faith. We use it or we lose it. People who keep their faith on full are doing something with their faith. This past week I stumbled into a word that I've never studied before. I was looking for what did Jesus do? How did he live? Looking for what James, his half-brother, witnessed that impacted him so much. And I came across this word. I'd never seen this word before. And it means servant. And this word is used in passages like in Matthew where it's used here, where it says, but among you it will be different. Whoever wants to be a leader among you must be your servant. It's used another time. In another verse in Matthew, it says, the greatest among you must be a servant. It's used another time where it says, whoever wants to be the first must take last place and be a servant to everyone else. It's used another time where it says, for even the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve others and to give his life as a ransom for many. Over and over and over again, we see this thread of how Jesus modeled that he came to serve, to do something with his faith. But as I dug into this word, I discovered this word wasn't like a title like servant. It was actually so much more than that. And so last week, I was looking into this word, into the original language, and I noticed something. And what I noticed, it just did something for me. Like it was one of those things that just it stood out and I couldn't shake it. See, this word wasn't a value statement. It's not a noun like you are a servant. It's actually a verb. It's an action. It means you are doing something. Better yet, this is how they define that word. It said that it is actively serving, to literally kicking up dust because you're on the move. That word is kicking up dust because you're on the move. So those verses that we just read over sort of could have read Jesus, his life was kicking up dust because he was on the move. He was doing stuff with his faith. So you can almost reread those verses that we read just a minute ago as, but among you it will be different. Whoever wants to be the leader must be willing to kick up some dust. Or the greatest among you must kick up dust. Or whoever wants to be first must take last place and kick up dust for everyone else. Or for even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to kick up dust for others and to give his life as a ransom for many. Today we don't use that phrase, kick up dust, but we do use the phrase, get our hands dirty, to get involved, to get in the game, to do something. James witnessed Jesus' life, and he calls us not to have a theoretical faith, but a faith with action, a faith that's kicking up dust, that gets our hands dirty, that's doing something. Jesus tells us how to follow his example and to live lives that kick up dust. And sadly, some of us, our lives just aren't dusty. We're not kicking up anything because we're not doing anything. And our life has slowly become all about us. And we're not looking to kick up dust, to get our hands dirty, to serve anyone else. And if we're honest, we just have to admit we've grown selfish, self-serving. And that we're not looking for others and how to serve them, but we're just looking for others to serve us. And guys, that's just not how our faith was designed to work. Because our faith, people keep their faith on full, doing something with their faith. They don't just believe for themselves, they do for others. They just don't hear things for them. They kick up dust for others. They get invested. They find something out of their comfort zone and they dig in. We have to be a place. We have to put ourselves in places where we allow our faith to be tested, to grow, that won't allow us to make it all about us, but that forces us to care about others. We have to have a place that weekly is pushing us to trust Jesus by serving others. Jesus modeled for us and then instructed us, and then James is reminding us that we have to kick up dust and serve others. We have to serve them. And as we serve them, here's the promise: our faith grows. Man, I'm just going to shoot straight with you guys. I really want you to fully experience a life overflowing with faith, with love and joy and peace and patience and all the fruit that Jesus promises. But all of that fruit is a byproduct of following him. And you can't say you're following Jesus if you're not doing what Jesus did. And Jesus was kicking up dust for others because he was on the move. Jesus did something with his faith for others. He was serving others. I had a friend the other day, he just said, you simply cannot say you're following Jesus and not be serving. And I was like, that's a little hurtful. And he goes, well, it's true. And I was like, ouch. You simply cannot say you're following Jesus and not be serving. So how do you keep your faith tank on full? You got to do something with it for others. Because here's a promise. And why serving and kicking up dust is one of the best things ever for you. Guys, as you pour out, guess what? Jesus pours in. As you pour out, step out, Jesus pours in. He invests in. He grows in. Guys, the truth is, you get more faith as you live your faith out. You get more faith as you live your faith out. You get more faith as you live your faith out. Man, this is so true for us as followers of Jesus. But if I'm honest, it's just a great universal truth. As you serve others, it gives back to you. A few weeks ago, we had a chance to see a couple of hundred of you guys across multiple campuses come out for a night to shine, which if you're unfamiliar with Night to Shine, it's like a prom for folks with special needs. And we were actually, as a church, able to host 2 of these proms. And one was in our northern part of the state, and then one was in our central part of the state. And hundreds of you showed up to do something, to serve someone, to kick up some dust because your faith was on the move. And that night, after so many of you guys poured out so much for others, kicked up so much dust for others, do you want to know what I heard 1,000,000 times? As that night wrapped up, I heard 1,000,000 times, that was so much fun. That meant so much to me. That meant so much to me. Guys, the night wasn't about us. But as we made the night not about us, it gave back to us. Last week, we talked about our student men camps. And man, I cannot tell you how many camps over the years I've been to. And at the end of the camp, we are just bone tired. I mean, we've poured it all out. We've slept in stinky cabins. We've had dance parties and we've cried and we played and we prayed. And we've wrestled with insane questions that students come up with. And I have just seen leader after leader after leader from this place of being physically, emotionally, spiritually exhausted come up to me. And as they're loading the bus to go home, they just say, "That was amazing. It filled me up." They've poured it all out, and yet their tank is just getting poured into. And I've seen Kidman volunteers whose lives are a wreck. Like it has fallen apart during the week, and they are holding together by a thread. And I've seen them come in with a huge smile on their face on the way to the nursery, say, "Man, I gotta hold me some babies this morning because this hour fills me up." Right now, I know a retired cop who has seen so much pain in our communities, who he is now giving hours of his week back to these very communities to make service projects happen for them. And he just keeps saying, "Man, it's filling me up." Yes, serving takes from you. Guys, it gives way more back to you. Because the truth is, you get more faith as you live your faith out. You get more faith as you live your faith out. Guys, I want you to experience a full tank faith, a faith that weathers all the storms. I've got to ask, where are you serving? What are you doing? How are you kicking up dust for others? Man, if you've already got a place in your community or already a place here at the church and you know that you're serving, man, I just want to beg you, keep serving. Double down on that commitment because you already know that as you give, it gives more back and it fills up your tank. But if you don't have a place somewhere with someone where you are routinely serving, routinely kicking up dust, getting your hands dirty, lowering yourself for someone else, man, I just simply love you too much to not tell you to do something right now, to commit to serving someone somewhere right now. And actually, I believe this so much that I want to take you through an exercise that will help you discover ways that you were designed to kick up dust. Because I want you to be able to start today. These are ways right here at our church. And I'm not gonna apologize if this sounds a little bit self-serving because I really do believe one of the easiest ways to start serving is right here at our church. It's a super simple, super safe way. We put it all on a silver platter for you and we just ask you to step in and say, "Hey, I wanna be about someone else for a little bit," because we know that we know that we know, and I want you to experience that when we use our faith, when we pour out, when we kick up dust, when we get our hands dirty for others, it grows our faith, and I want your faith. I want your faith to be full. So here's what I want us to do as we wrap up. I want each and every one of us to pull out our cell phones. I want you to pull out your cell phone right now, and I want you to text "kick dust" to 20022. I want you to text "kick dust" to 20022. So kick dust to 2022. Now, if you're happy with where you're serving, if you know that you've got your someone, someplace, either here at LCBC or outside of LCBC that you're kicking up dust for, man, that is awesome. And I want you to keep doing that. But I want to invite you to still pull out your phones because here's the secret. I want everyone to think everybody's doing this. And if you're like, "Man, I'm really happy," and I know like a ton of you guys already serve, I want to trick everyone else to think that we're all doing this right now together. So go ahead, pull out your phone, even if you've got a place that you're really happy to serve. But instead of doing the survey, man, I just want to invite you to start praying. I want you to pray for everyone else who's about to take a huge step to step out of not just saying they have faith, but living out their faith. But for those of us who don't have a place right now to serve, Man, no matter where you're at in your faith journey, your lack of faith, how long you've been following Jesus, how messed up your life is, how put together your life is, no matter where you are, if you are willing to stop making life about you and to say, man, I just want to make life about someone else and want to kick up some dust because I need my faith to grow by pouring out to them, here's what I want you to do. I want you to text kick dust to 2022. And we're going to do this thing together right now. And here's the thing. Yes, serving is not about you. It is for others, but serving was never meant to be miserable. I don't know if that's like a news flash for anybody, but it wasn't meant to be miserable. Jesus actually tells us that all of us are uniquely wired and designed, and what we're about to do is to help you discover how God has wired you. And I want you to fill out this questionnaire that we're about to do, and I want you to answer these questions right now. And then before the day is over, your local campus will contact you and let you know of some possible next steps, some places you could test drive to see if it's a good fit for you to serve, because we want you to find something you're passionate about, that you love doing, because we want you to keep doing it, not so that you're doing stuff at the church, but so that your faith is growing. Because as you pour out, Jesus pours in. So hopefully by now, everyone has texted 2022, kick dust. I want you to go ahead and fill out your name, last name, email, campus. This stuff's like really important, so we know how to do that. So go ahead and fill that out. Hit the next button to go forward. Here we go. If this is you, I want you to put a check in the box. If you love rallying a team towards an awesome mission, like if you can boss people around and they still like you at the end of the day, you know who you are, put a check in that box. If you love making people feel comfortable and known, and people like you making them feel comfortable and known, not like you're like a creeper. Like, if you like making people feel comfortable and known, put a check in that box. If you love task and order and details, they complete you, and you know everything grammatically that I have said wrong this entire time, this is your box. Put a check in there. Next, I love encouraging others and hearing their stories. I think it's amazing how everyone's journey is different. Like, if you can connect with people and hear them, put a check in that box. Next, I love entertaining people and showing hospitality. Making big or small events magical is my thing. If hosting and like decorations and like food and all that stuff, you're like, oh, that's so exciting. That's you. Do it. I just love eating what you bring to the table. I love gadgets and pushing buttons, and I'm not intimidated by technology. If you have not figured out how to do this survey yet, this is not you. But if you're tracking with us, go ahead, and if you like technology and you're not scared of it, put a check in that box. I love clearing the path from snow and leaves left by Mother Nature. If you like if you're a redneck because you out in the sun, not like because you got big tires, but like because you like are out in the sun, you love being outside, you love being in the weather, you love cleaning, this is you. I love helping others out, but I can't give extra time on Sunday. Man, let's just be really practical. Sunday's like crazy for you, and you're just like praying you got here. Man, I just want to say, way to go. You got to church. But if you're just like, I can't give more on the weekends, but weekdays work for you. Man, we've got, at the campus that I'm a part of each week, we've got some of the most amazing things happening on Thursday and Wednesday afternoons, because some folks, they can't commit a lot on the weekend. Man, but what they give during the week is just a blessing. If I love singing and making music, check that box. Now, I have heard that if you can just play an instrument that other people don't run from, put a check. We'd love to talk with you. And just so you know, all of our tambourine positions are full. So if that's your skill set, you can leave it blank. Next one, I love using tools and setting things up and tearing them down. We build stuff around here. I don't know if you guys know that, but if you like using tools and it doesn't scare you, then put a check in that one. I love working with students and all the craziness and fun that comes with them. If you're not having like trauma from thinking back to your middle school and high school and kidmin days, like put a check in that one. We need folks who can love our kids. It's awesome. And then the last one is I love building Legos and playing games and engaging with kids. Hey, did you guys know that there is a room every weekend that you literally just play video games? And it is one of the best ways to serve families here. So like, I know some of you are trying to beg your husband to stop playing video games. Tell him you found the perfect place for him to serve Jesus and play video games. It's awesome. Put a check in that box. Guys, here's my hope. I want you to hit the submit button, and I'll make you a promise that someone will reach out to you before the day is over, because we gotta be a place. We gotta be a place that's kicking up dust, because Jesus started a movement, and it wasn't a movement for our heads. It was a movement that lived out through our bodies and our life, and he was on the move, kicking up dust, making a difference in his community. Man, I want you to discover what it's like to kick up dust. I want you to discover what it's like for your faith to be on the move, because people who keep their faith on full do something with their faith. Man, they do something with it. And I want your faith to be full, to weather any storms. Man, if you got any questions about how this serving thing works, or you're still trying to figure out how to get your phone to work, go out to the atrium. There's tons of people out there to work with you guys and help you. And if you're like, hey, I just would like to use a paper form, the phone thing really scares me. Hey, we have it in paper form at the Next Steps area at each of our campuses, just so that you can continue the conversations. And if you need someone to pray with you for any reason, like if you showed up today and you're like, my tank's empty, man, I just need someone to pray with me, to give a little comfort today. Man, I just want to invite you to come on down to the front left at each of our campuses. There's a person waiting to pray with you right now, or you can drop something on the website this week. It is an honor to pray with you guys each and every week. But LCBC, may we be a full tank faith church because we're doing something with our faith. Man, let's kick up some dust this week and see how Jesus uses it. Don't miss next week as we unpack the fourth habit of ways to keep our faith on full. But until then, LCBC, may the Lord bless and protect you. May the Lord smile on you and be gracious to you. May the Lord show you his favor and give you his peace. Love you guys. Let's kick up some dust.